Welcome to the workbench. Today we are going to be unmasking the mystery behind masking aircraft canopies. Let's have a look. So most aircraft modelers will agree that the bane of their existence is masking canopies. It's something you have to do unless you're doing First World War biplanes, in which case you've got a whole lot of other way more difficult techniques to deal with. But it's not as scary as you think it is. You only need 3 things. Masking tape. I'm going to recommend Tamiya. This has consistently been the best tape for modeling applications. It's just sticky enough. It gives a nice clean edge. It's nice and thin. Works every time. The humble toothpick or cocktail stick, whatever you call it, wherever you are. And your favorite hobby knife with a brand new blade. You need this thing super sharp. I don't care if you've only cut one thing with it, you put a brand new blade on it. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. That's all you need. First thing you're going to want to do, take your toothpick. I'm kind of partial to these slightly larger ones. They're not as big as a skewer, but they're bigger than your typical toothpick. These are sharp, but they're flat on the end. So what we want to do is kind of give a rounded point. So we're just going to take a little piece of sandpaper, and we're just going to kind of put a little bit more of a point. You don't want it sharp, so we're just going to round it off a little bit, but you do want it to go to some measure of a point. Just like that. So the canopy we're going to be masking is on this 1/72nd scale Heller T-28 Fennec, which was the French production of the American T-28 Trojan. This thing has a very large canopy for 1/72nd scale, kind of somewhere between your typical prop plane and a jet canopy. Big clear areas, but it's got some noticeable framing. Most importantly, it's got a nice, sharp, well-defined framing, which is going to make masking very easy. So we're going to be using what I call the cover and cut method, which means you cover as much of the canopy as you can with one big piece. And we're going to take our toothpick and we're going to find that corner where the glass meets the frame, and we're going to make sure that that tape is well burnished into that corner. So that's going to give us a nice seal, so we're not going to have any paint leaking under the tape when we go to paint. As you can see, you catch that light, you get a nice defined line of where the edge is. So now, obviously, take your knife, brace yourself up, get the tip of that blade down into that corner. And you don't want to apply any pressure, because if you do that, you're going to slip. And that's going to cause you to probably cut somewhere you don't want to. So that's why you want a very sharp blade. And just let the weight of the knife do the work. Peel off the extra, and we get a nice clean line. we've got a significant chunk of that canopy all masked off. So I'm going to do the rest, and we'll come right back. Now, Kyle, you might ask, what if I have a canopy that doesn't have nice, sharply defined frames? They're soft, they're indistinct, they don't exist, it's a vac form canopy, whatever. What do I do in that case? Well, that's where the thin Tamiya masking tape comes from. These are 1, 2, and 3 millimeter. Simply take pieces of this and individually map out each panel on the canopy, and then cut off the extra tape where it overlaps onto the framing. So you're basically going to turn that canopy into a plaid shirt of masking tape, and then just trim off little bits of extra, and then you can fill in the middles with big pieces of tape or your liquid mask of choice. You can check out our video on the Hasegawa 48 scale 0. I kind of go over that on that kit because it had a pretty poorly defined canopy. And there we have it, one completely masked off cockpit canopy. Now, next step, hit this with some paint. Of course, you're going to want to use your cockpit color or whatever the interior color of the cockpit framing is. Don't just hit this with your normal gray, white, purple, red, whatever primer, because when you look through the canopy, you're going to see that on the inside because, of course, the whole thing is clear. But hopefully that demystified masking canopies. Hopefully this is a little bit less scary for you now. So get out there and mask with confidence. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you next time.